Today we decided to talk about the wonderful film from 1993, The Demolition Man, starring Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes and Sandra Bullock. Demolition Man is quite possibly one of the best films to come out of the 90s and one of the best modern classics of our times. Truthfully, a film to come back in recent years. Honestly, truthfully, is something that's become quite a phenomenon and is changing everyone's lives as we speak.
I completely disagree with every single thing you've said. It's a decent film. It's not a good film.
Oh, man. At least you're not on the boat of it's just absolute
It's
garbage.
not absolute garbage. Before I watched it, I constantly said in every other video...
He'd never even seen it yet. He'd never even seen it.
Just because you had showed me the box, and from the box, as I hold it in my hand, the most entertaining, futuristic action film since the original Terminator. I would not agree with that statement.
I wouldn't go as far as to say it's as good as the Terminator.
Also, if you're looking at the box like I am right now, the main character is Stallone Snipes. If you read them together like that.
Stallone Snipes.
What a terrible name.
What a great... I would love to see it, that actor fusion.
So, what do you want to talk about this great film about?
I mean, I guess I could just kind of say like why I think it's so great.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Give me your reasons. I want to hear them. Go ahead. No. Go ahead.
I think the acting is really good, first and foremost, just because, you look at people like Stallone and Wesley Snipes, and they typically have like this really like terrible repertoire, behind them.
Don't elaborate.
Well, like Wesley Snipes is just not really that classical of an actor. I mean, he's been in like a few good films here and there, but nothing like too crazy. And Sylvester Stallone, I mean,
go on.
Yeah. Judge Dredd.
Let's talk about Sly for a sec.
What about he was in that movie Stop or My Mom Will Shoot.
I didn't know that was a real movie.
Yeah, it's real. He was in that. He made
Over the Top is the best.
That's the
Stallone
best
movie.
I'd say that's the best Goofy. Not Goofy because it takes itself pretty seriously.
It's pretty serious.
But I'd say it's the best brand of like cheesy Stallone movies. At least in like the latter half of his career.
Yeah.
Before his face became even like more busted as time went on, and yeah, as when he got into the 2000s, and you could obviously tell that he was aging more. That's when.
Then he brings it back with Expendables.
And he brought it back with Rocky Balboa and Creed, and
those are all great.
Yeah, those are all great. But anyway, I think the acting is really good in Demolition Man because not only do I think Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes just kind of bring it in not like they're doing Shakespeare or anything,
yeah,
or anything heart wrenching or anything like that. But I think for what it is, like they're actually acting and they're playing characters that, at least when I look at them and I see them, I'm like, yeah, it's Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes. But at least I believe that they're trying to be other people. At least they spent time putting effort into these performances.
I'll give you the Wesley Snipes acting. I won't give you the Stallone acting.
I'm not
Stallone. It literally seems like Stallone is just walking through like a house built of paper. He's like just breaking everything on purpose. Like he's acting more bumbly and stupid than usual.
Well, I think that's kind of like supposed to be the
character. It's of course, but aside from this actual story, he doesn't seem like he wants to be there whatsoever.
I guess that is kind of the downfall.
Wesley Snipes, though, definitely could see. That was just Wesley Snipes.
Wesley Snipes was just having fun.
Yeah, that was. They didn't tell him his lines. They were just like, here's some cocaine. Jump off the walls for a few minutes.
Yeah, it's like giving a kid a bunch of like sugar and a super soaker.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I do give you that all of Wesley Snipes' parts in the entire movie are very energetic,
very entertaining.
But Sandra Bullock's character, I just wish they had somebody else other than Stallone in this movie.
Really?
Yeah.
I think Stallone actually I think this is one of the quintessential Stallone movies.
I feel like if this was a Schwarzenegger movie, it would have been funnier.
Really?
Yeah. Because
he had already kind of had his hand in Total Recall and all these other like sci-fi futuristic
I could see
movies.
That. I feel like the cop had to be even more so bumbling. Not bumbling per se, but like way more actiony,
more barbaric.
Yeah, way more
sort
because
of like in the
when they're calling him barbaric and stuff. I'm like, I could see that if you're from a futuristic society and stuff. But he needs to be like literally like wiping his ass with the paper like in the shot.
Like they need to show.
Yeah.
Oh, stop! Cut it out.
Would have been a better film.
No.
It would have been a better film if they explained the 3 seashells and I didn't have to look it up on a website that made me feel icky.
Nobody knows how the 3 seashells work.
They explained it. You use 2 of them as a clamp.
No, not.
You use 2 of them as a clamp.
Not confirmed.
It is.
No, it's not. By
Look
who?
it up. Look it up right now.
By who confirms this?
The people who wrote the movie.
Oh, for sure. No, okay, none of this is confirmed. I'm not reading any more of this garbage.
I just want you to find the article with the picture.
No, I've already seen plenty of pictures of that. I've seen Demolition Man at least 30 times by now. Just because I think it's such an amazing film.
I'm so sorry.
I think I discovered the film a long time ago.
Yeah.
I think it was one of those weird instances where I had found it and my dad and my stepmom were watching it. I think they said that they thought it was dumb. But I really liked it.
That's the first sign.
That's like something I noticed with this film is that
it's very split down the middle.
It's very split down. Like some people, like me, really like it and think it's really smart and think what it's saying is relevant.
All of the things they're saying are relevant, and the satire is all really done really well. Problem is, it's just not fun. And the
you don't have a fun time with it.
I think parts of it are fun. I don't think the overall story is that fun, especially when you could have made it more funny. Mm-hmm. There's parts that are definitely funny, but a lot of it's just aggravating.
Yeah, there are definitely a lot of parts where I feel like the whole cheesy action movie kind of thing could have come off a lot. Like, if you're going to do it, at least have it come off a lot more charming and creative.
We're an action film making fun of action films, but we're really just an action film.
Yeah, it's like the end scene is like perfect. Like the end scene in any action film is supposed to be, especially for people that spit catchphrases and one-liners, like your last line when you kill the bad guy at the end of the movie is supposed to be like your definitive catchphrase line. It's supposed to be something cool.
Heads up!
Yeah, like he just says the most basic, it's flat.
Anybody could have said that.
Unimaginative catchphrase one-liner to kill off the bad guy at the end of the movie. He kills the bad guy in a pretty cool way.
Then what he says pretty much just cancels it out.
Yeah, it just kind of flattens it out. And even worse, another really bad thing about the ending of the movie is that it's called Demolition Man.
And it doesn't blow up the whole building?
It doesn't blow up the whole building. It's just like this whole flat screen. It's just a static image of a building, and one corner of the screen, one small image, is just blown up a little bit compared to the beginning scene in the movie.
Do you know why? It's because they probably used their entire budget of explosives on that first explosion.
Probably, honestly.
Because they
blew their load a little too soon.
They blow that level. They level that entire building.
Yeah, I mean that was cool and that was awesome. And they didn't really do.
It's like they reversed what the explosion should have been. Like at the beginning.
Like at the beginning, maybe
it should have been the explosion at the end, and the end should have been at the beginning.
Well, it just should have been like cool in both ways. Like the first explosion is the explosion that gets you hooked, and then the last explosion is the explosion that leaves you with a happy feeling. But they didn't do that, and it kind of just has this ending where everything wraps up in a really almost too perfectly. Like when Sylvester Stallone gets out of the building with Sandra Bullock and whoever, and he's talking to the people from the underground, all the rats and the scraps and such, and the police.
The
skids. Oh, no, that's Letterkenny. Don't get me all confused. But then the police above ground, he basically said, they're all like, well, what are we going to do now? Like, literally, like, think about this. The magnitude of this. Their entire way of life is about to change now.
And he just goes, "You'll figure it out.
You'll come together. You'll figure it out. I don't know.
There's not gonna be civil wars or anything.
I don't know. I don't know how to help you guys. I'm just
in the future.
And I'm in
the future.
Yeah. It's just weird. It's definitely something that wraps up too quickly without really having any idea.
Any actual resolution.
Without having an actual resolution. Because think about that. There's no way they're going to be able to come up with some kind of solution that's going to be able to work, because this whole society that they've built here is a society that is completely predicated on the idea that anything that is bad for you is just completely terminated and is off the table, and you can't deal with it anymore. So now you have to live in a society where you only have the choices that the government or whoever the higher ups think are good for you, what they say is good for you. So if suddenly now you've got this group of people being introduced, this primitive way of life being reintroduced into society, where now people have the ability to choose whatever it is they want to do. Well, now it comes, well, where do we draw the line again? At what point does the law drop from, vandalism? Like, the below people literally wanted to vandalize. They want to go out and, like, spray paint the town. But that's obviously illegal. So, do they draw the line there? Maybe. We don't know. And then you have to start wondering, well, what if they want to start smoking cigarettes? Is that
it's too bad
is that
for
against
you.
the law, or is that allowed?
It's too smart of an idea for the entire movie for them just to cut it off like they do.
Yeah, to just literally cut their losses at the end.
Because that's like, there's like 3 stories going on in the movie pretty much, and there's like the Wesley Snipes Stallone story, and then there's like the actual like futuristic story of there's these underground people and these above ground people.
Yeah, like there's definitely way too many things that I feel like get started. And then they really well thought out.
They all start great.
That are very thought provoking, but then end, like you said, without really any kind of solid resolution. Because
if anything ends, there's like no point in a government or a resolution or revolution or something like that of this magnitude where somebody just goes, "Oh, you'll figure it out," and then walks away.
Yeah, and then just kind of leaves the mantle to be picked up by somebody else.
Because that's how you start a civil war.
Yeah, because it's regardless of the people that are involved with this situation and recognize that their leader, was basically a false idol and was just kind of like this guy who was only doing things to his own ends, to complete his own means, really, his own goals. Then, there are other people, there are regular citizens outside. There's literally, we can only assume that this just affects America. We don't know how the rest of the world is. But the whole rest of the country is still, there's going to be any revolution, any kind of power or monarchy that is overthrown, any kind of government that's been overthrown throughout history, like history
levels the country.
It levels the country, but history will show you that there are still facets out there that still uphold the belief systems of the previous government that was held in power.
Exactly.
There's still going to be people out there that believe that I forget his name. I don't know. Tarkin or something.
The bad guy.
The bad guy, who's basically like this messiah.
He created all these socialist rules.
Yeah, and there's still going to be people that believe in what he taught them and what he said in his preachings, and I just doubt that all that's just going to be wiped away so easily as Sylvester Stallone's character John Spartan seemed to think it, as easy as it is.
Yeah.
Another thing that just really kind of it doesn't get on my nerves so much as it's just another loose end. It's kind of another plot hole if you think about it. It's that.
What's John Spartan going to do in the future?
No, it's just.
Well, that's a part I have with this.
I mean, that's a problem that I might have with this. But my main issue with the film that I think is just like it was the first legitimate complaint that I just like had to go on a tangent on when we were watching the film. It was that scene where obviously Wesley Snipes' character is, when he comes out of the cryo prison, he was genetically engineered or re-engineered
to be like a weapon more.
To be like a weapon and to basically be subservient to the Messiah-esque.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. That he woke up all these other prisoners and they didn't reinstall the same thing.
Yeah, so the context here is Wesley Snipes' character is basically being mind controlled to where he's genetically engineered to where he can't kill. I'm just gonna look up his name because it's gonna drive me crazy if I keep calling him
the bad guy.
The bad guy. Dr. Raymond Cocteau. That's what his name is.
That's ridiculous.
So Dr. Cocteau is he basically had it to where Wesley Snipes' character Simon Phoenix can't kill or turn on Dr. Raymond Cocteau in the likely event that the psychotic Simon Phoenix would choose to do so. So along the way, in order to carry out the mission Cocteau has for Snipes' character, he tells Cocteau, "I need some backup." And he's like, go bail out some of my boys so I can have a whole posse to back me up.
And then he doesn't install the same re-engineering to where they can't hurt him.
The same protocol. He does not install the same instructions that he put onto Phoenix that he does to these other characters, because as soon as it gets to a point where Simon Phoenix feels like he's ready to take control of the operation and he just remove Raymond Cocteau from the equation.
He just goes, hey, shoot this guy.
Yeah, has another one of his
boys.
Yeah, one of his boys, his cronies.
One of them big boys.
Just shoot him dead. And the look on his face was just like of absolute shock. Like
he's like, I didn't even think about this.
And it's just like, dude, are you serious? Are you serious? What an insult to a character that's obviously supposed to be someone of high intellect, where he was able to literally, from the ground up, build a kingdom, essentially, on a society that had destroyed itself, turned it completely around into his own personal utopia, and then
he forgets to put one little
failsafe that would have saved his life and just brought everything together.
My plan would have worked too if it wasn't for you bumbling inmates that I woke up at a cryo prison.
Yeah, it's just it's ridiculous. It's nuts. It's a complete farce, is what it is. And I can't get over the fact that it would go so far as to insult my intelligence like that. Like I can accept all the nonsense. I can accept the Taco Bell.
That's my favorite part.
That's like the best part of the movie.
Taco Bell is the only restaurant that you can eat at?
Yeah. That part I can get past. I can get past the rat burger. I can get past...
The rat burger is that would make sense, though.
Yeah, like that part... There are parts of the film that actually make sense and are funny. Like, the fact that it's a film from 1993 that basically has all these futuristic things that actually do exist now in the future. Like, video phones, I mean, that was a lot of science fiction movies at the time, but...
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that happened, or that they have in the future, we have now.
Yeah. Having what essentially amounts to internet-related products. The fact that ads now take up pretty much most of the airwave, the radio wave space. Just a lot of different stuff like that kind of hits home. A lot of different things that are very relevant now, like such as the fact that sex is virtual in their world.
That's starting to happen.
Which it's kind of, even though that I feel like a lot of what they predicted was by accident. Not everything that they do here relates entirely to what happens now. But you can definitely draw a lot of parallels from what they're hinting at to what is going on currently.
Yeah, because they're trying to move more towards a socialist utopia where everything's illegal that's bad for you instead. Yeah. And that's kind of like what the society is trying to move towards.
One of my favorite things in the movie was the little box on the wall that beeps and gives you a ticket every time.
Oh, if you cuss?
Yeah, if you curse. I love that thing because... Even when they're having like a serious conversation,
it'll just beep in the background.
It'll just beep somewhere in the background. John Spartan, you have
1 credit. You owe 1 credit.
1 credit for violating the laws of language or something like that.
Yeah, I love how he wipes his ass with him. Literally.
Yeah.
He just goes, "You have no toilet paper," and they go, "He doesn't even use it. He doesn't even know how to use the 3 seashells." And then he just goes over to and just starts. And then just has him, like, print him out stuff so he can wipe his ass with him, literally.
Probably the worst casting is Rob Schneider in the film.
That's the only part where I love Rob Schneider. I hate Rob...
He has, like, 1 or 2 lines. He's not a major character, so he's not in the movie for very long. But he has, like, 1 or 2 lines that are funny and 1 really annoying laugh.
I agree.
Yes.
I think this is the best Rob Schneider character because he's not in it that much.
No, wow, nice.
Because Rob Schneider's a stapler.
What did you like about the movie?
Since we are done talking about everything that's bad?
I mean, there's probably definitely some.
Alright, I'm going to go ahead and say some of the things that I thought were bad.
Oh,
then I'm going to give it some praise.
Alright.
So, the casting is so good that this should have been better than it is.
Okay.
It's a complete rip-off of a book.
Okay.
That's another thing that I have wrong with it, is this guy pretty much plagiarized this entire book where a futuristic soldier got woken up to take down a futuristic past got woken up in the future to take down a past criminal that was also in the future and had the same kind of underground and above ground type of story going on.
Interesting.
So that's
what was that book called?
I'll look it up in just a second, or if you can, because you have a laptop.
Yeah.
There's just parts that make me upset, like what you were saying, the ending. Like the whole last 30 minutes, I was not into. Like I was before the last 30 minutes, I was gonna say, you know what? This isn't that bad of a movie. The last 30 minutes killed the movie.
Okay, so the book apparently Lincoln's talking about is Brave New World. They must have credited it because that's obvious. There's no way they would have been able to
I think they did, though.
I looked up Brave New World and then it linked me immediately to some aspects of the film allude to Aldous Huxley's dystopian novel Brave New World is what it says on Wikipedia. So as far as I can tell,
they didn't credit it whatsoever.
I guess not, because I don't know. Let me look up when the book was published.
A while.
It was written in 1931. Largely set in a futuristic world state of genetically modified citizens and an intelligence-based social hierarchy, the novel anticipates huge scientific developments in reproductive technology, sleep learning, psychological manipulation, and classical conditioning that are combined to make a utopian society that goes challenged only by a single outsider. Huxley followed this book with a reassessment and an essay. Okay, so then here's the thing. It's obviously some kind of allusion, reference, or homage because Sandra Bullock's character's name in the movie is Detective Huxley.
Yeah.
That's the name of the author.
It is.
So it's obviously...
So yeah, but do they credit it was the problem that a lot of people had with it, because at the time when it came out there was backlash because I believe that is what I had read before doing some half-ass internet research.
From what I can see, it does not seem like they did so, because I don't remember anything in the credits of Demolition Man.
Exactly, that's what I was...
anything about it. So...
It seems kind of like a ripoff. Kind of a ripoff, kind of a homage at the same time.
I guess so.
Because it's like too on the nose for them to not have been based on a book by...
Okay, so like here's how I kind of like think about it. So it's a film that basically takes place. It's in the 90s, and now we're in the future, and everything's all nice and dandy. So Brave New World, it was written back when it was written. The way I kind of view it is, so the book Dracula comes out.
Yeah.
And some people in Germany wanted to make a movie on it, right? But they couldn't get the rights to the book. So they just made the movie Nosferatu and just changed a few of the characters, a few of the situations.
Yeah, would you not say that is similar to plagiarizing?
That's definitely... I consider that very similar to plagiarizing. Because that's basically...
They changed to Demolition Man instead of A Brave New World.
But
they changed the dates.
But in A Brave New World, it seemed like it was...
And he's not really a warlord, or...
He's not like exact... I feel like they changed it enough.
Read the summary on A Brave New World real fast. And tell me how you feel, I do like that they did leave a reference in it, if that is a reference, that Huxley is the lieutenant.
It basically says, Huxley imagines a genetically engineered future where life is pain-free but meaningless.
So similar.
Basically, from what I'm getting right now, the book...
It's not that much of a ripoff, or it is?
Brave New World focuses a little bit more on how the world has become more pharmaceutical and more biologically processed.
Gotcha.
As opposed to a world where your choices have been limited. Like, I assume that your choices have been limited due to the fact that child reproduction and other human functions have been facilitated by, I guess, whatever world order this is in this book. But in Demolition Man, it's definitely more the sense of a fascist, utilitarian kind of government.
Yeah.
I definitely get that sense whenever we watch that scene where they were trying to track down Simon Phoenix initially. And it was just after they had released John Spartan and inducted him into the police academy, or the police force. And the police captain's only plan was waiting until another person died to find out where Simon Phoenix was. just kind of hinting at this idea that he was willing to sacrifice someone else's life in order to capture and find this person.
The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Before someone like Simon Phoenix goes on and kills even more people, which is pretty interesting. I'm not gonna lie.
Anyways, back to the other things I don't like about it. The last 30 minutes of the movie, as I was saying before we started looking this up, destroy the entire rest of the movie. Because everything good about the movie, like I was going to say, like I was waiting till the end just in case something like this happened, but I was going to say at any point during the movie, oh, this isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Then the last 30 minutes really just drive it to that it's not that great. Because the ending is just as important as the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
And the ending is not that great.
Yeah,
the whole first half of the movie in the middle, okay, I like it. It's pretty good and has a lot of good stuff going on.
Yeah.
But it just the last 30 minutes destroy it.
I agree with you there. It definitely gets a little bit boring by the last third, by the last act.
Mm-hmm. And they didn't know what they were going to do, really.
Yeah, they started to fall off a little bit there.
And then it turns into every action movie ever instead of being a commentary on action movies.
Yeah, you know what is another thing that I don't like about it that hits home at what you just said?
What?
How they literally did a scene right at the end where Huxley and Spartan are going through like the main like building, like the final building.
Yeah, they're about to hit the final boss like in a video game.
Yeah, and then they get attacked by some grunts, and Huxley actually like she balls out and she proves herself to be very capable.
And then he knocks her out.
And then he knocks her out before the final confrontation. Like right as she's getting pumped and amped up, ready to like, save the day with him, he just knocks her out. And it just completely shattered any kind of credence they were giving to their feminine audience.
Right.
Obviously, I'm not going to be able to speak for any feminine audience out there that agrees with what he did in the movie or not.
Yeah.
But for me, kind of looking at it, it's like setting up a joke and then never delivering on the punchline, or building this house of cards only to just knock it down before it's even finished.
Right. Because they were going so progressive for most of the entire movie.
Exactly. Like, you kind of get this feeling throughout the movie that he's kind of subtly training Huxley.
Exactly, and then you never get to see the final test.
Yeah, you never get to see her, like, her full training.
And then it gets reduced to he kisses her at the end.
Yeah, she just turns into the typical damsel in distress babe, or girl like arm candy that every female lead kind of gets turned into in movies at around that time, kind of like in Die Hard with his wife.
Mm-hmm.
But that kind of got under my skin a little bit in this movie. I don't know what else you had that you just liked.
I was gonna say also that where he just knocks her out.
Yeah.
Because like it was going the way where it's like, oh, this isn't gonna be like every other action movie where there's just two guys like squaring off at the end.
Cheesy mano-y-mano shtick.
Even the dialogue is cheesy as crap when they're just like, oh, I've been waiting my whole life for this.
I've been waiting 40 years to kill you.
Exactly. Simon Says.
Oh, man.
And it's supposed to be this huge commentary and satire on futuristic stuff and action movies and stuff, but then it becomes all the things it's making fun of.
Yeah. It kind of falls apart at the end. But it does so in this really ingenious way. It sets things up in a really ingenious way.
But then it doesn't deliver as well.
It just completely falls apart by the end. It just completely shatters the illusion it was delving into and creating for itself, surrounding itself in.
Now, what I like about this movie,
right?
The Taco Bell is hilarious.
Yes.
That there was brand wars over restaurants, and Taco Bell is the one that came out on top.
Yeah, and it was like an actual crusade.
Yeah, it was like an actual war of brands, they say.
I love that there's like little things like that throughout the movie.
Like they actually tell you a tiny bit of history.
Yeah, they never go too far.
They're just like, yeah, this happened, you idiot, uneducated.
Like, and you have to you are left to figure out how it happened.
Yeah, you're just like, that's funny. You think about however.
Yeah, like how did President Arnold Schwarzenegger come about? We don't know.
I like how they put that in there, and then he's just like, oh, I hate Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, he was just like, I can't believe it. I can't believe this. Which is funny. I like how they did that in their movies for a while. The Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, Last Action Hero, where this kid goes into a movie theater, and it's like an alternate universe, and there's a Terminator poster, but instead of it being Arnold Schwarzenegger as a Terminator, it's Stallone. It's pretty good. It's pretty cool, actually. That's a good little
reference right there.
But yeah, like this film has a lot of cool, subtle, hinted things that are pretty snuck in there. They have a few good lines, like I said. Like there are some lines. Sometimes the writing is just like really tight.
Yeah, some of it's really good.
Like there's that scene where he's in that restaurant in the Taco Bell, and there's that woman that talks to him, like that complete stranger that just starts giving him like crap for no reason.
Yeah.
She's like, "What would you say if I called you a brutish barbarian of a bygone era, thankfully forgotten?" And he's just like, "I don't know, thanks."
Where it's bad writing, but it just works.
Yeah, it just feels like sometimes that's what I'm saying. Like it feels natural, and the way the actors just kind of say it just feels natural. And then there's oh man, another really good scene with really good acting in it was the scene where when John Spartan first got out of his cryostasis.
Yeah.
And the first thing he says is, "What happened to my wife? Where's my wife?" And they're just like, "Oh, sorry, she's dead." Ooh.
Ouchies. What happened to my daughter? We're not here to answer all your questions.
He goes, "We're not here for that. We just thaw you out for a family reunion." Oh man, that kills me.
That's
that was cold-blooded.
She's like, actually, we don't care.
Oh man, and then there's that scene where it's him and Huxley, and they're driving the car, and he says he's just looking out the window, and he's looking at all the the citizens on the sidewalk, and he just thinks to himself, you know, I think about my daughter growing up in a place like this. And I wonder what she would think of me. And it's just little things like that. Like movies nowadays, action films especially nowadays. I mean, like you have the Marvel movies and the works that are really, good at giving us believable characters and action-packed
character
situations.
development.
Yeah, like, it's just little hints of character development, like just sprinkled throughout the film.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, he's this big brutish, like super cop from back in the day,
but he still thinks about his wife and kid.
He thinks about his wife, his daughter. He thinks about what it would be like for his daughter to grow up in a society that he's completely foreign to, like that he's completely estranged to this way of life. Like, I just think it's amazing that they would even write in a small scene for him to even consider what the ramifications of living in a world like this would be like. And
it's almost too smart for Stallone to say.
It's almost too smart for the following scenes,
right?
Like whatever scene, like it's like whatever something smart happens, but then the next scene is them talking about how like I don't know, let's have virtual sex is like the next scene,
right? And
yeah, like there's commentary and satire to go along with that.
But then it's also not as good as the scene that followed it.
Yeah, like I feel like there should have been a little bit more development there. But you know what? For what it was, I'm glad that they put it there. They got it in there, and I don't have to sit here and think to myself, who is John Spartan? Right. Like, who is this guy I'm supposed to be rooting for this whole time? But because I know it's someone that is a thoughtful person. He sits there. That scene. That's another really good line. Is that scene? Outside the Taco Bell after he beat up all the scraps and whatnot. Yeah. And Huxley's like, "Oh my God, that was so amazing what you did just then, just beating all those guys up." And I think this is a hint at society's personality towards violence and people's motivations overall, because she's just so enthralled with the fact that he just kicked everybody's ass. But for him, it's not about that he just beat up a bunch of people. It's not a good thing to beat people up. He says, well, sometimes it is, but not when it's about a bunch of people just looking for something to eat. Right. And I was like, ooh, that's a good line. Like, that's a good line right there. Mm-hmm. And the way he says it, like the conviction in his face when he says it is just like, damn, I believe this guy and everything he's saying.
I can't count on my hand the amount of times where Stallone did a better job in a movie.
Than in this movie? Yeah. You could probably count like the really good Sylvester Stallone performances.
I know there's more. There's more than I think there's more than. I think there's more than 10 performances I would rather watch than see this movie again, though. Really? Wow. I like it, but I don't like it that much.
Interesting. I'm always gonna be on the side of this movie's great. But I'm also
I'm very just like all of the ratings and stuff. I'm very in the middle about this. I would have probably gave this a 60 or 70.
Here's the thing, and here's something I gotta bring up about the film, and I think it kind of tries to get this message across, is that if you want to be a fan of this film, you have to be like Sandra Bullock's character.
Pretty much.
Because Sandra Bullock's character is like all about the nostalgic of the 80s and 90s action film craze. Like her character is all about that, and that's supposed to kind of embody
the fans.
Because now the fans have to sit and they have to look at an action film that, much like Huxley when she looks at John Spartan and the things he does, you know, there's underlying themes to this. You know, there's more beneath the surface than just brute violence. There's war, there's fatigue, there's people just trying to survive and get by versus a society that's fascist and whatnot, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so Sandra Bullock...
I think the ideas and the stuff that this movie sets up are all very, very smart and way too ahead of its time for a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
But they don't execute it as well as I wanted them to.
That's
my only problem with this movie. If they had just like tried a tad bit harder with certain parts and certain lines, I would have liked it a lot more.
Yeah, I was just about to say that going off of that Sandra Bullock parallel I was drawing, is that like the journey that her character goes through is kind of like the same journey the audience goes through.
Pretty much.
We're going back and we're looking at an action film that has all these different ideologies, themes, and just thought-provoking ideas underlying the whole thing, but by the end of it we just kind of get punched out.
Right. I just don't like how it really just goes against everything that it sets up.
Yeah, it really does a great job setting everything up, but then just throwing it all away.
It's like...
Because think about it, we'll never get to know what the society is like now.
Unless they make a Demolition Man 2.
Which they probably will.
You'd be all...
I mean, I was about to say won't. I was about to say
would you go and see it?
I would definitely go and see it.
If they had the original cast and everything?
Yeah, totally. If they didn't have the original cast, there'd be no point in making it.
If it was like an older Stallone and they made it like a completely serious satire on like what's going on now,
I would love it.
Can we write this real fast?
Maybe. we'll do a rough draft.
We'll do a rough draft.
I guess that's really all there is left to say, you know, that we have to say about Demolition Man, because like everything that's left to say about Demolition Man
has been said over and over again for the last
however many years this thing started popping up again.
Right.
The last like 2 or 3 years when this thing became popular again. But yeah, so
I don't think it's that bad. I think it's a decent film. I think it's smarter than a lot of other action films.
I definitely think you have to go into it with the right mindset of being like, oh yeah, I like action movies. And
I do like action movies.
And then watch this and be like, huh, action movies can make me think. Just not consistently.
Too hard.
Not consistently on a regular basis. But yeah, so...
I'll give it a crisp 7 out of 10.
Oh yeah? I think I have to give it...
If you give it a 9 out of 10,
I have to give it a 9 out of 10.
You're so bad.
I have to.
No, you don't.
Okay, I have to give it
on a 9, on a non-bias way of looking at it. There you go. That's a little bit better.
Non-biased, 8 out of 10. Because biased, 9 out of 10 is being very generous just because it's super biased.
It's super biased.
But then 8 out of 10 is like still from
looking at it from a film.
I think it does so much right.
I think it does more.
Those 2 points off from being a perfect 10 are just from it not being able to really
hit your
resolve or solve any of the problem
that it gives to us.
Yeah, it doesn't really wrap anything up nicely. It just kind of ends abruptly if you think about it.
But overall, decent film.
Yeah,
I'd watch it.
Oh yeah, totally. So thank you guys. Make sure you like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment in the comment section below. Tell us what you guys think about the movie.
If you really hated Demolition Man, please give me a thumbs up in the comments.
Please. Well, make sure you guys have a good night and take care.